What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Wednesday, July 16th, 2025, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now, it is 1300 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from upstate New York and also from the Middle East and from Eastern Europe. So, 5 Iranian sleeper cells were arrested trying to cross the Canadian border into New York, all of whom had been previously detained attempting to illegally enter the U.S. A Customs and Border Protection spokesman confirmed on Tuesday that 5 Iranians were arrested while attempting to illegally cross the U.S. northern border with Canada. On July 1st, Border Patrol agents from Champlain, New York, responded to suspicious activity near Moores Forks, New York. Customs and Border Protection's Swanton sector said on Facebook. Agents located a minivan occupied by 5 citizens of Iran and 2 citizens of Uzbekistan. The Champlain station is part of the Swanton sector. Customs and Border Patrol said that all 7 men had been previously arrested for attempting to cross the border illegally. So this is huge news, guys. Okay, 5 Iranian sleeper cells arrested trying to cross from Canada into New York. And we also have some major breaking news coming in from Syria. So it looks like Israel is now at war with Syria, and this could escalate into something massive. Israel has been striking Damascus over the last 12 to 24 hours. And just this morning, Israel launched airstrikes on Syria's Ministry of Defense headquarters and the presidential palace. And this is all happening because the Syrian army started attacking the Druze minority in southwestern Syria, and the Druze minority was asking for international help. And so the Israelis came in and started striking various Syrian army positions, and now they have struck the Ministry of Defense headquarters in Damascus and the presidential palace, guys. This could be biblical, okay? We're getting into the end times. And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video. The Bible says that Damascus will be destroyed in the latter days, okay? And we're seeing Israel striking Damascus more and more. Here we have some footage that was released by the Israeli military, and it shows this strike on this building here. Let me play this for you. So I believe this is the Ministry of Defense in Syria. Massive strikes. Looks like multiple strikes here. 4 kabooms right there, completely annihilating the entire Ministry of Defense building. And I don't know what this is. I don't know if that's the presidential palace or what, but massive strikes here, okay, right on the Syrian government. Okay, that is absolutely huge news. And the strikes occurred even after the Trump administration asked Israel to halt the attacks. The United States views the situation as worrisome, according to the U.S. Special Envoy for Syria, Tom Barrack, and apparently they have repeatedly urged Israel to halt its strikes. But on Wednesday, Israel warned it would intensify attacks if the Syrian government forces do not withdraw. The Syrian Foreign Ministry said several civilians and security force members were killed in the Israeli strikes, but did not provide specific figures. In a statement, the ministry condemned the Israeli attacks, calling them a blatant violation of the sovereignty of the Syrian Arab Republic. The Trump administration has asked Israel to stop its strikes on Syrian forces in the south of the country, citing a U.S. official. The official said Israel promised that it would cease the attacks on Tuesday evening, but on Wednesday, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said the military will intensify its attacks on government forces in Suwaida, that's southwestern Syria, if they do not withdraw from the area. The Syrian regime must let the Druze in Suwaida go and withdraw its forces, Katz said on Tuesday. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said Israel is committed to preventing harm to the Druze in Syria due to the deep brotherly alliance with our Druze citizens in Israel and their familial and historical ties to the Druze in Syria. So if you guys are not aware, there's, I think, hundreds of thousands of these Druze people in Israel, living in Israel, okay? And part of their society extends into southern Syria. So Israel is coming in and protecting them from the Syrian government, who wants them to assimilate as part of the Syrian government. They want the Druze to lay down their weapons and lay down any kind of like national identity, if you will, or tribal identity, and assimilate into Syria. And so Israel does not want that to happen. So this is huge news, guys. Also, we're hearing that Israel has begun transferring military forces from the Gaza Strip, including the 98th Ha'esh Division, to the Golan region near Syria's border. So Israel is now moving forces from Gaza to the Golan Heights in northern Israel, right on the border of Syria. So they're getting ready to send ground forces into southern Syria to defend the Druze, okay? So this is huge news. Also, the Druze in southern Syria are raising Israeli flags in their towns and calling on Israel to protect them. And we have reports from various sources that the death toll from the clashes in southern Syria between the Druze and the Syrian army has now risen to more than 300. And local Syrian sources are reporting the movement of Israeli tanks in the vicinity of the village of Tranja in the northern countryside of Quneitra. And we're also hearing that Defense Minister Israel Katz will head to D.C. tonight for an official visit. His office said Katz will meet with his American counterpart, the U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, and other officials, okay? So this is really, really escalating quickly. There was also some reports of a ceasefire that was made by the Druze, and the Druze apparently agreed to lay down their weapons and assimilate to Syrian identity, but that was actually false. That was fake news. So there is no ceasefire. That was fake news reported earlier this morning. And we also have some major breaking news coming in from Oman. So what you're looking at here is satellite imagery captured by the European Space Agency satellite on July 13th, showing the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier off the coast of Oman in the Arabian Sea. So this is interesting. The U.S. still has an aircraft carrier near Iran. This is very close to Iran. This is right off the coast of Oman, guys. Okay, so that is absolutely huge news. The U.S. still has aircraft carrier presence in the Iran region. And here we have some footage of Trump speaking to reporters yesterday about the Epstein files. Now, Trump said that he thinks the Epstein files are boring and he doesn't understand what the interest or fascination is with them. I want you to listen to what he says and watch his body language for yourself. Okay, a reporter asked him about it. Now, Dan Bongino, the deputy director of the FBI, nearly resigned last Friday because of the handling of the Epstein files by the Trump administration. So this has clearly caused a rift in the MAGA movement, and this is definitely hurting Trump. So let me play this for you so you can listen to what he said.
Interested in the Epstein story and so upset about how it's been handled.
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is. I really don't. And the credible information's been given. Don't forget, we went through years of the Mueller witch hunt and all of the different things, the Steele dossier, which was all fake. All that information was fake. But I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going. But credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say let them have it.
So there you have it, Trump responding about the Epstein file situation. And we're hearing reports that Putin intends to keep fighting in Ukraine until the West engages on his terms for a peace deal, unfazed by Trump's threat of tougher sanctions, and his territorial demands may widen as Russian forces advance. 3 sources close to the Kremlin told Reuters. Okay, so we have 3 sources telling Reuters, these are sources close to the Kremlin, saying that Putin is not going to stop. He's going to keep going for more land in Ukraine, and he's unfazed by Trump's threats. Okay, so don't expect this war to end anytime soon. It's going to keep escalating, and I think we could see Putin make a move on the Baltics this fall or sometime in the near future, and potentially we could see Putin use nuclear weapons on Ukraine. Remember, Russia has the largest stockpile of tactical nuclear weapons in the world. They have about 2,000 tactical nuclear weapons. We only have maximum 500 according to official statistics, okay? So they have 4 times the amount of tactical nuclear weapons as we have. And that gives them tremendous flexibility in a situation like Ukraine, where let's say they're running out of conventional missiles, conventional weaponry, conventional forces. They can still use these low-yield tactical nukes to destroy Ukrainian cities, economic centers, areas that are deemed very valuable to the Ukrainians, okay, and try to degrade their society, degrade their economy, and also degrade their military. And they can do that with all these tactical nukes that they have, okay? But 3 sources close to the Kremlin are confirming Putin will continue to fight regardless of Trump's threats. And also the sources said that the Kremlin is preparing for a long war, hoping that at some point it will break through Ukraine's defensive lines. In case of success, Russia may present new territorial demands. If Ukraine's defense collapses, a major advance towards the Dnipro, Sumy, and Kharkiv cities could follow. Okay, so Dnipro, Sumy, and Kharkiv. Putin's peace conditions could include a legal ban on NATO's eastward expansion, Ukraine's neutral status, limitations on its armed forces, the protection of Russian-speaking people, and recognition of the territories occupied by Russia. Putin believes that no one, including the Americans, is seriously discussing peace terms with him. so he will continue military operations until he achieves his goals. Trump has little influence over Putin, and even if Washington imposes tariffs on buyers of Russian oil, Moscow will still find ways to sell it on the global market. An escalation of the conflict is possible in the coming months, raising the risk of increased tension between the two leading nuclear powers. Okay, so that's what these three sources are saying. Putin is not influenced at all by Trump. Okay, so this is very, very concerning, and I told you this is going to happen. I told you Putin is not going to stop. He doesn't care who's in power. So now the question is, how is Trump going to handle him? And Trump confirmed yesterday that the Patriot missiles are already on their way to Ukraine. He said they are coming from Germany and then they are replaced by Germany, and in all cases the U.S. receives full payment for them. Okay, so 17 Patriot batteries going to Ukraine. Do you know how many Patriot batteries that is? That is absolutely insane, okay? 17 Patriot batteries means like 500 or 600 interceptor missiles that can be launched at one particular time. That is a massive number of interceptor missiles, okay? And U.S. President Trump on Tuesday reiterated a significant escalation in his administration's approach to Russia's war in Ukraine, defending his 50-day deadline for a peace deal. Speaking to reporters at Joint Base Andrews en route to the White House, Trump said he had not directly communicated with Russian President Vladimir Putin since setting his ultimatum. However, he noted that in previous conversations, Putin said he wants peace. So far, it's all talk and no action. Speaking to reporters Tuesday night, Trump defended his 50-day time frame, stating, "I don't think it's a long time," and quickly pivoted to criticize the previous administration. Why did Biden get us into this ridiculous war? Why did Biden bring us here? That should never, ever have happened. This is Biden's war. I'm just trying to end it because we're saving a lot of lives. So Trump doubling down on his stance against Putin, basically saying that Putin is just full of talk, and he's 100% right on that. And last night, Russia launched a massive drone attack on Ukraine. Again, I'm hearing that as many as 400 drones were launched at Ukraine and several dozen missiles. Also, there was a massive drone attack on a town in Ukraine, Ismail, right next to Romania on the Danube River. So Russia is increasingly striking these border areas that border NATO, okay? Romania, Poland. There's already been several cruise missiles, Russian cruise missiles and drones that flew into Polish airspace. There's already been several drones that crashed in Romania, okay? So it's just going to get worse and worse, guys. It's not going to get any better. And we're now hearing that Romania will be the first European country to acquire Israel's Iron Dome air defense system. And Russia has reportedly upgraded its KH-101 cruise missiles to carry cluster warheads weighing 400 or up to 800 kilograms. Okay, so that's about 1,000 to 2,000 pounds. Okay, that is absolutely insane. That's a massive warhead. Okay, that's at least as big as the Tomahawk missile warhead, which is about 1,000 pounds, up to twice as big. These enhanced missiles are now even more dangerous, equipped with dipole reflectors to confuse air defense systems. The July 12th strike on Chernivtsi may have involved these upgraded variants. And we're hearing that the Chinese Air Force launched 38 sorties around Taiwan overnight last night. And on Monday, the Taiwan Army carried out a live-fire drill on the Kinmen Island, less than 10 miles from the coast of China, as part of the ongoing Han Kuang exercises. meant to simulate the defense of Taiwan from a full-scale invasion by China. During the drill, Taiwanese M60A3 and M41D tanks, CM-21 and CM-22 armored personnel carriers, M1 240mm and 105mm howitzers, and ground troops expended over 30,000 rounds on the Kinmen Island. Wow. So if you guys are not aware, the Kinmen Island is a tiny island right off the coast of China that belongs to Taiwan. And we now actually have Green Berets that are stationed there and are training the Taiwan troops and conducting intelligence. And they deployed there during the Biden administration like 2 years ago. And now Taiwan did this massive live fire drill, expending over 30,000 rounds just miles from China. Absolutely insane. And the U.S. used their long-range anti-ship missile, stealth cruise missile, recently in the Middle East against the Houthis potentially. And this would have been their first known combat use. So this is their new long-range anti-ship missile, the LRASM. It's a stealthy anti-ship missile, and they tested it against the Houthis. And the EU President Kaja Kallas criticized Trump's decision to sell weapons to Europe on behalf of Ukraine, saying that the U.S. should share some of the burden of the weapons. She said, "We welcome President Trump's statement about sending a large amount of weapons to Ukraine, although we would like the U.S. to share the burden." Wow. And France refused to participate in the purchase of American weapons for Ukraine, according to Politico. And Germany, the UK, the Netherlands, and several northern European countries have agreed to buy the American weapons for transfer to Ukraine. We're also hearing that the Czech Republic is not going to be participating either, because the Czech Republic is already spending money on artillery shells for Ukraine. And for the first time in its history, the French Ministry of Defense has presented a dedicated defense strategy for the Arctic. The strategy is built on three main pillars: strengthening permanent military and political presence in strategically significant areas of the Arctic, deepening bilateral and allied cooperation with NATO and EU partners, modernizing military capabilities, including for potential deployment and combat operations under Arctic conditions. Special emphasis is being placed on intelligence gathering and navigation. Wow, so France is concerned about the Arctic threat. And China's fifth-generation stealth fighters, the J-20 and the J-35, have been spotted flying together for the first time. This confirms that both aircraft have now entered active service in the Chinese Air Force. So now China has active stealth fighters in their Air Force. Very concerning. And for the second time this week, the Chinese Coast Guard vessels 3103 and 3105 approached the waters near the Taiwan island of Dongsha with their trackers turned off. Very concerning. And according to a journalistic investigation by Balkan Insight, Russian intelligence services, including Wagner operatives, were training recruits in training camps located in Serbia and Bosnia in preparation for a possible coup in Moldova. The operation primarily involved Moldovan citizens who at the initial stage had their passports and phones confiscated. The training programs included, among other things, drone piloting. One of the recruits, Maxim Roska, reported that participants were paid between $300 and $500 for a 10-day intensive course, with payments made in cryptocurrency. Wow. So Russia is trying to overthrow the government in Moldova using Wagner and some disgruntled Moldovan citizens. And China and Serbia are planning to hold their first ever joint military exercises to deepen ties between the countries. And we had a massive amount of reconnaissance over Eastern Europe overnight last night. We haven't seen this much reconnaissance in several months, and I think it's related to this decision by Trump to flood Ukraine with weapons, and Trump even told Zelensky to hit St. Petersburg, which is Putin's hometown. Okay, so now Russia knows that they're running out of time. Putin knows that the tariffs are going to be kicking in. He knows that all these long-range missiles are going to be coming. Remember, that's a red line for Putin, okay? But he's going to try to do everything he can before all this stuff reaches Ukraine and before the tariffs kick in, okay? So he's going to be doing massive strikes. And so what you're looking at here is a recon plane over Finland, patrolling the border of Finland and Russia. We also had an aerial refueler flying over Latvia, close to the Russian border. We also had a private reconnaissance plane flying through the Suwalki Gap into the Baltics, and then also we had a NATO AWACS plane flying right over Riga, which is pretty rare. It was looping right over Riga for several hours, okay? And then we also have Forte 10, an RQ-4 Global Hawk reconnaissance drone, airborne right now in the western Black Sea, looking at Crimea, probably gathering information on Russian submarine movements and potentially collecting target information for the Ukrainians to strike. And we also had a nuclear war command and control plane airborne earlier today. And then here's a picture of the Chinese Coast Guard ship that sailed close to the Dongsha Island off the coast of Taiwan with its tracker turned off. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. Lots of stuff going on. We have this war between Israel and Syria now. And we had those sleeper cells try to come through the border into upstate New York. So I'm going to be monitoring everything. And also we have a 911 outage in New York now. A couple of days ago there was a 911 outage here in Pennsylvania. So I don't know if this is related to cyber attacks or if they're secretly, quietly upgrading their systems with some kind of new software or maybe AI. Who knows? But something is definitely going on for all these 911 outages to be occurring. It's definitely not normal, and it's very concerning. So I'm going to continue to monitor that and update you guys accordingly. And I might be back later on with another update or live stream. Check out my Patreon. I post all these updates to Patreon first before I post them to YouTube. You can watch all these updates ad-free, plus some extra information that I include on Patreon as well. That's patreon.com/NYPrepper. Also check out EMP Shield and My Patriot Supply. They have some good deals going on right now. Especially My Patriot Supply, they have a $200 discount on their 3-month emergency food supply. But until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. Culinary out. And before I continue with the breaking news, I wanted to mention the sponsor for this update, which is My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply is doing a massive sale on their 3-month emergency food supply. You can get 3 months of emergency food, 2,000 calories a day for just $500. That's $200 off their normal price with free shipping included. This food has a shelf life of 25 years, and it's a variety of different types of food. So if you use the link preparewithnyprepper.com, you can save $200 on their 3-month emergency food supply. The link is in the description below this video. That's preparewithnyprepper.com, and the link is in the description below this video.